This is John McAllister with the McAllister Scouting Report and my podcast around the state. Today's an exciting day for me because I get to interview an old friend, the head football coach at Bowling Green State University, Scot Loeffler. I first met Scott when he was a quarterback back in Barberton High School, and my goodness, I think probably 30 years ago. And he went on to Michigan. Then he's played under some really good coaches, including Urban Meyer and Frank Beamer and Lloyd Carr. He's done a great job. Now he is starting his third year at Bowling Green State University, and he's taken a few minutes to talk to me today. And like my central subject always is football recruiting. And Scott hopefully will tell me some of his philosophies on recruiting. I will say this: Bowling Green has gone through some tough times 3 years ago, and Scott has taken over. He's working to get there. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you following me, and we'll talk to Scott in just a few seconds. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Okay, today I'm talking with Scot Loeffler, former Barberton Magic, former Michigan, former a bunch of things, and a bunch of coaches. But now he's locked in at Bowling Green State University, and we've been friends for 30 years. Coach Loeffler, how are you doing?
It's good to see you, John. I love what you're doing with these podcasts, and you've been such a remarkable guy in the state of Ohio with our great game. And just like I said, as a player, I've always appreciated what you did for myself, my teammates, and the other guys in the state of Ohio. And obviously, as a coach, in many places I've been, I don't know if there's a better guy that knows Ohio football better than you, John.
Well, I'm getting old, but I used to know Ohio football, and some of the great memories I have are going up to Michigan many years ago with Coach Carr and Coach Mueller and Jerry Hanlon and John Walk, the equipment guy. I mean, those are great times. Okay, let's talk business. I will tell you this, and unsolicited, I've always been told when you go after a head football job, there are no 500 jobs. Okay, there are either undefeated jobs that you got to follow a guy, or there are jobs that take a lot of work and been losing. And I'll be honest with you, Scott, and you know this. When you got this program, the cupboard was empty. It wasn't really close to being bare, but I never agreed with what they did. And it's going to take a while to get your program going again, because I will tell people out there it was bad. And you know that. Okay. And the other thing I would tell, I think recruiting is huge. Okay. Is huge. And if I were a head football coach at any university, I think I can say this: the first guy I would hire is a strength coach, because I think that's really huge. And then the second guy might hire is my gopher, the guy that's an assistant to the head coach that does everything you don't want to do. The third guy is the recruiting guy. Now that sounds funny, but so often we just throw a guy in there. I've got good friends that are recruiting guys, and they know their stuff. And one more thing, I think it's huge that you need to do a better job at Bowling Green than a Power Five school. I mean, you've got to be a better salesman. You've got to be a better evaluator, and you got to really work at it better than the Power Five guys. They say, well, these are the top recruiters in the country. Well, heck yes. I mean, okay, I'm at Bowling Green. I'm going to call a kid and say, I'm an assistant coach at Bowling Green. I'd like to talk to you. Well, okay. And then I talked to a guy from, say, Notre Dame. or Ohio State, yeah, so I'm with you. Okay, I'm with you on the end of sermon, but I understand this game. Tell me, Scott, what you've been surrounded, you've been with really good coaches, and this is not about you; it's about recruiting. But I know you're with Urban Meyer, you're with, you've been around Tim Tebow, you've been around Tom Brady, you've been around Brian Greasy, and you've been around Lloyd Carr and the assistant coach you have up there now, and I forget his name right now, but he's going to be your offensive coordinator. You've been around, and the guy at Boston College, really, really good people. But what do you look for in recruits? What's the first thing? I throw you a name, and what do you look for first, Scott?
Well, without a doubt, John, as you well know, I've had the great opportunity to be around a bunch of really good head coaches. And the one common theme in recruiting is that you not only have to have a talented guy that's a really good football player, you have to have a guy that's got tremendous character. And we've really done a great job, I think, in these last two classes of digging on guys that are really good football players, but they're not only good football players, they're even better people. And we're looking for captains, plain and simple. We're going to go into St. Ignatius High School. We want to go into all these great high schools in the state of Ohio, Toledo, St. John's, and we want to find the very best player that we can find that are captains, that are high character, get after it guys that want to win. And we're in a world, as we all know, that it's instant gratification, and there is no such thing as instant gratification. And whenever you've got a really good character guy, he understands that, you begin the process. You might not be necessarily where you want to be now, but in the end, if you really do what you're supposed to do in the classroom, in the weight room, in the film room, on the practice field, you're going to be an elite guy. And what we found, not only with the character part of the piece of recruiting, is we really evaluate the parents. And whenever you've got parents that understand and get it, they're going to make sure, as we all know, training camp is about ready to begin, John, and you know it and I know it. It doesn't matter if you're 2 hours from home or 15 hours from home, you're going to get homesick. Training camp is hard.
Right.
And when you've got a relationship with a parent, you're able to call and say, hey, listen, he's going to get through this. You trusted us during recruiting, and we're going to get him through all his up and downs that are going to happen at a university. So we're looking for talent, we're looking for character, and we're looking for quality parents.
Well, that's huge. I don't know if I've ever thought about parents. I mean, your relationship with them, it's huge right now.
It's huge.
It's huge when he's not playing very much. And you
Yeah.
got to sit down and say, hey, this is why. But that's really good. Scott, what about you talked about character, and here's the other thing at Bowling Green or at Miami or at Toledo. I once made the statement when I was a young guy to Gary Blackney, who was at Bowling Green. Blackney had that little Napoleonic complex, being short, but he was really a good guy, good friend. And I said, well, I think he's a MAC player. Boom. Blackney said, Coach said, the heck, I'll clean this up. He said, what the heck do you mean a MAC player? We got to go play Purdue, Indiana, Ohio State. We need guys that can play. And I've changed. I know I call it mid-level, but you got to have a couple of those guys that are more than mid-level. And I think the other thing about character, I've always believed you can hide one or two guys, but you can't hide a whole group of them. And that's why it's so important you're talking about character. What about kids when you do that first interview with them? What do you talk to them about the kid? Because so many kids would rather look at their phone than talk to you. But what do you tell kids? What does Scot Loeffler tell kids?
Well, the thing that I found most interesting, John, is back when we were getting recruited, and heck, prior to the pandemic, I was huge into phone calls. And John, to be quite honestly, I'll never do another phone call ever again. I'm going to FaceTime. I'm going to do these type of meetings over the computer because I want to see the true reaction of the player. I want to see the true reaction of the parent. And what we've tried to do a lot of times is have not only I really enjoy having the student athlete with the parent, and you're able to watch their interactions, and you're able to watch. You figure out a lot through FaceTime and through these Zoom meetings. So we do a ton of that. But the things that we ask our guys is we want to find out our recruits. We generally speaking, you see them at camp, you see them here. They're excellent football players, but we really want to find out if they've got that it factor, that drive. We've had all those great quarterbacks at Michigan, and they had that it factor. They had that fire and that passion to not only be good, but they wanted to be elite. So we dig on them with that. We watch their parents' reactions, and the relationship piece is everything right now. We're in the one-time transfer rule, and if you don't have a great relationship with the parents, I remember being in college, John. My mom and dad heard half of what was true. I mean, it just was the facts. So you have to have a relationship with the parent and be able to call that parent and say, "Hey, listen, this kid's going to be a great football player. He just needs a year. He needs a year in the weight room." And we're very honest with our players. The one thing that we're going to tell them is exactly where they're at in recruiting, and we're going to tell them exactly where they're at in our program. And if you're honest and you develop them and you love them and you hold them to the higher standards, if you come to Bowling Green, you're going to turn into a very good football player if you've got talent and character.
Good. That's really good. We talked about skills, and that's pretty much self-evident. But let's go to your specialty a little bit. Let's talk quarterbacking. Okay, I want to spend just a few minutes because obviously you've done really well as a quarterback coach and a quarterback. I don't know if there's such a thing as guru, but
yeah.
Now there are a lot of private coaches out there making money that call themselves gurus, and I watch what they produce, and why aren't you stepping with that lead foot a little bit? Why aren't you doing this? Well, but tell me about let's talk about my son's a quarterback. I want you talk to him as a quarterback now.
Yeah, the quarterback position. When I learned the majority of the training that I've got is from really good people, Cameron, John Payton's, John Gruden's of the world. They've really been influential in terms of that position with us. But 3/4 of the stuff that you do with the quarterback position is between your ears. Obviously, you have to have all the physical intangibles, but the one thing that I found with this position is that you cannot replace quarterback fundamentals. It's shocking to watch on tape how many guys out there don't know how to pivot and push and take a great first step, to be able to have open hip, open shoulder, to be able to have great footwork, to be able to have great weight transition, to be able to have a clean J motion delivery. And there's so much out there right now. And there's some really, really good private quarterback coaches, and there's some that aren't so good. But the thing that you can never, ever replace is quarterback fundamentals. It's everything. Whenever you are in the fray and things aren't going well, you always fall back to your training, which you always fall back to your fundamentals. So the things that we really emphasize is quarterback fundamentals. And then, we're in college. I get it. But ever since I was at the University of Michigan, we treat our quarterbacks like they're NFL guys. They need to be able to go into the classroom and get a high 3.5 GPA. But we're going to treat them like a pro. They're going to work. They're going to know protection. They're going to know defense. They're going to know progressions. As much as we teach offensive football to these guys, we teach defensive football. And what we found is that the guys that have great quarterback fundamentals, the guys that know protection inside and out, and the guys that know defense, they really separate themselves in the NFL. The top five NFL quarterbacks right now are all fundamentalists, all know protection inside and out, and they know defense like they know offense. And that's what we try to emphasize here at Bowling Green.
That's I can add to that. I think with the high school level, I don't know how you do it for sure, but I think kids have to learn progression because I'll talk to a high school quarterback, and when I was coming up as head coach, we pretty much said, if this guy's not open, go right there. We didn't do progression, but I think college coaches are looking for the guys who can be able to do that. And that's a little bit what you're saying about intelligence. And I think quarterbacks are getting better at it. But I'll look at a quarterback and say, it looks like you're not doing progression. It looks like you're just, and they'll either put their head down or else, yeah, you're right. I said, well, you better be able to do some of that in camps. And I would also suggest with quarterbacks, and we're coming there in a minute, are camps. I'm not talking about the All Ohio camp or the bingo camp or this. I think Nike, is it Nike or Under Armour? Those are okay for competition, but I think they need to get into college camps. And tell me the importance of college camps for quarterbacks in all positions.
Well, as you well know, the majority of all college guys, they're not going to take a guy unless they see him live. And there's some that's so critical to not only see them live, but also see their demeanor, see their competitiveness, and it's everything. I mean, I've seen guys that can really throw the football. That when you get them to camp, they're not great leaders. They have no juice. They have no energy. And I always like watching a guy. And I've said this many times. I remember going over and watching Chad Henne, and the greatest thing that ever happened is he threw 2 picks, and he threw 2 picks early, and then to watch him respond and watch him throw 5 touchdown passes and I think he was like 90% after those 2 picks. I went, that guy's a dude. So you not only get to see their success, you not only get to see how well they throw the ball, but you're really looking at how competitive they are, how they handle adversity, how they handle whenever they don't throw a great ball, and how they respond after that. So there's so much more to this position than just spinning the football and being able to do that. You're right, John. I mean, I look back in comparison to now, there's so many kids right now that can throw the football better than we ever could. But all those it factors and intangibles, they're everything. And I've been around guys that can really throw it and they don't have intangibles, they're not going to make it. But if you got the whole package, and that's where you need to get them in camp. You need to, I mean, my goodness gracious, I'll sit up with a guy on the board during our interview process, and I'll be on the board with them for 4 hours easily. And, they got to know what can that quarterback guy do to improve me? But I'm also evaluating, all right, can he learn? Can he handle tough coaching? Can he handle adversity? Can he handle this? And is he smart enough to learn the system so he can go through all the multiple progressions that we have to go through? Is he disciplined? Discipline is everything. I mean, my goodness gracious, you look at these NFL guys, and Tommy and I are as close as anything. When Tom Brady, who is the best ever to play the game, when Peyton Manning, Drew Brees go outside the box, they go outside of what they're supposed to do, 9 times out of 10, it's a negative play. And, the discipline to stay within the system, particularly when things aren't going well, is everything. And as you well know, John, those good ones, they can hang in there till 2 minutes left to go in the game, get their rear ends kicked up and down. They stay inside the box, and the next thing you know, they made the 6 throws they need to make to win the football game. And, all those things, is relationship. All those things is getting the kid in camp. We're not going to take a guy unless we have a great relationship with them, a long-term relationship with them, because they need to know what they're getting into in terms of how we coach and what we demand. And we also need to love them too in terms of, we spend so much time together. There's nothing worse than being in a room where you don't like each other. You might disagree at times, but you got to have a great relationship. And I think that's everything.
That's super. I'm relating to a lot of things you're saying, and I will get away from quarterbacks, but You know, I'm an offensive lineman in high school, but I think I'm a quarterback guru. So, but I would tell you, Scott, one college. Well, he's a high school player. I knew him really well. He went to Notre Dame, and we talked. We just talked about what it was like. He said, "Well, yeah, I didn't throw a football for the first 3 months. We sat in the classroom, and he said that's all we did. He said, now we may go out and toss it around, but as far as reality, he said I had to know everything, and that's just what you said. And I know I'm just relating that. Here's the other joke about quarterbacks. I started a sophomore once. He had a chance to be really good, and he was. He was a leader. He was tough. He was a brawler. But I told him in the first game, I said, now, Mark, I'll tell you, the first game he played, I said, there are two people in this field that are going to get booed. I said, I am and you are. And we just laughed about it. But that's true a little bit. Okay, let's talk about no dead period. What can kids do to get to Bowling Green? I know a dead period, we all know what that means. But how can I make contact at Bowling Green?
Yeah, what we've done is just like you said, we hired my first hire, John, is exactly what you said, a great strength coach. The second was a great DFO, and then we've hired really, really good recruiting coordinators. When you're recruiting coordinators, I'm on my third recruiting coordinator in 3 years, so that means that we've done something right. They're all at Power 5 places. The two people were swept up immediately, and they were really good. And the classes reflected that. I mean, I'm not into big rankings and all that crap, but we were number one with Toledo in 220, and then in 221 we were third. But to be honest with you, I think the 21 class was more talented than the 20 class, and that's saying a lot. But we do a great job. We're old school, John, in terms of we reach out to the high school coach still. I love it. We've got some of the best high school coaches. We reach out, we do our research through them first, and then we reach out to the player. And obviously, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, that's our footprint. And when Bowling Green's run one, John, and I know that you know this, 75% of the roster has to come from your footprint. And in our first class, it was 75%. And this 221, it was 79%. And it's so important here at Bowling Green. When you're in your footprint, the Toledo Bowling Green game is important. They understand. When I was at Barberton, Ohio, John, the games that I watched was Akron, Ewing, Kent, Bowling Green and Toledo, Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan, Notre Dame. And after that, I didn't know any other rivalries. So when you live in the Midwest, you understand what games are important and what are not. But to answer your question, is we still go through the high school coaches. We go through recruiting service. We go through guys like you that say, hey, Scott, listen, he's a guy. And then we reach out. And the one thing that I've learned from Urban is that we recruit every minute of the day here. And Urban was the very best. The best thing I ever learned from him is that as the head coach, you got to be the best recruiter. You got to be on the phone with these recruits more than an assistant coach. And I have a list that I talk to 10 recruits every single day. And that's just the way we're going to do it. And that's how you hit it, John. You got to have a great strength coach. But if you don't have personnel, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Recruiting is everything. And it's not only getting, just like you said, these talented guys, but you got to get guys with character. And our philosophy right now, John, because I listened to what you said, and you're dead right. The MAC is about getting 3 or 4 exceptional players. Yeah. If you've got a great locker room. Yeah. And if you've got a great locker room with great character, that a bunch of tough guys that love Bowling Green, and you get 3 or 4 difference makers, you're going to win. That's how this league has always worked.
And the quarterback.
And the quarterback. Good point. Well, the quarterback's everything in every league, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think in the MAC it surely is.
Well, John, you know how you just and you mentioned, John, about you're an O-line guy that is become a quarterback guy. In my next lifetime, John, you know what position I want to coach?
Probably offensive line.
The offensive line. No doubt about it. You want to talk about like an awesome position, man. That's
Okay, I'll
where
give
you
you.
win the game. I mean, that's where you win the game. Obviously, you got to have a quarterback, but when you have a tough, well-trained offensive line, oh my. And that's been the philosophy. The cupboard was so bare that what we had to do was go get the big guys, and that's all we've recruited is big guys. These next couple classes, John, we got to get some speed and some guys that can cover and guys that can score. But if you don't have big guys and you don't develop them, you have no chance.
We we think a lot alike, Scott. I'm going to finish here in a little bit. It's really good, but I tell you, a comment on when I got my first head football job, a wisdom guy said, "John, coach the running backs. No, coach the offensive line. I'm sorry, coach the offensive line because that's what I knew." But he said, "You coach them because when you go to team or group, you're going to see the quarterback and running backs, but you're also going to know what those offensive linemen know what to do." So I think there's so much good to that. Of course, I'm laughing now because we have a mutual friend in Jerry Hanlon, but about 5'6". I remember him yelling at those guys, 6'8". Good memories. Okay. Tell me just two more things. Tell me about game day. What would be your advice for game day, Scott?
Yeah, the first thing that I would do, and I did this as a recruit, is you want to get to the stadium early, and you're when you walk into a college arena, you're being evaluated immediately.
Right. That's true.
Honestly, we have every eye on you, and we have every eye on your parents, and you want to be able to show yourself in a first class manner. And that's really, really important. And then second, the reason I think you should get there early is I think you should watch warm-ups. I think you should watch the interaction between the coaches and the players. And then I think you should watch your position. And if you think that you can make an immediate impact at that position, then that might be a place for you. But getting there early and representing yourself in a first-class manner, along with watching warm-ups, along with watching the interaction of the coaches, I think is everything. I think that's really, really important. I've always said this in recruiting, and I'm probably this is probably not the smartest thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you're a guy that's interested in just graphics, and you're a guy that's just interested in the hoopla, and the jerseys, and all that, you're not gonna make it. You're not a football player. Now I get all the stuff that goes along with the graphics and the cool stuff and the photo shoots and all that. But at the end of the day, that means nothing. A photo shoot and graphics aren't going to get you a job after you're done with football. Get you a job when you're done with football is going and kicking butt in school, being able to handle the adversity of football, taking all the great life lessons of football, being around people that are going to demand and kick your rear end up inside and down and love you on top of it and develop you into a hell of a football player and give you a chance to go out in the business world and be completely different. So that's the stuff that's important in recruiting, not the graphics, not the uniforms, not the cool photo shoot. It's who's going to develop you, what type of academics you have, what does the strength coach, or there's a bunch of people surrounded around you to make you elite 15 years from now. That's the stuff that's important in recruiting.
Right. I think too with game days, I think so many kids say parents will put on Twitter or on Facebook or anything. Hey, we were on the guests at Ohio State game. Well, there are 150 guests. All your coach has to do is call down and say, "Hey, can I get three tickets?" And but I think the other thing that's true, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. The other thing is, I think kids should wear their jacket, the school colors, so that when Scot Loeffler, obviously you're wrapped up, but you may look over and see a Barberton kid or somebody from Michigan or somebody then, or maybe that quarterback that you really, really like, where you see that colors and you may, find out right away who he is and go there. And I think the other thing real quickly, Scott, is on game day is just take it for what it is, because you get close to those players and see how big they are, how fast they are, and see where you got to be. So
Yeah.
it's good. And just about anybody can go to get tickets for game day, can't they, Coach, or not?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think, after your comments, I think you're dead right. I remember when I was a sophomore, 5'10", 170 pounds is what my driver's license said. I remember going and watching Michigan and Illinois when John Makovic was at Illinois. And I realized watching Michigan's quarterbacks warm up and watching Illinois' quarterbacks warm up, it really motivated me going, man, I got to get going. I got to get big. I got to get strong. I got to do this. I got to do that. And to watch the ball come out of those guys' hands, it really motivated me to really improve. So I think you're dead right. Whenever you go, you get to find out real quick what you need to do to be at that type of level. And then when you go to pro football and you get to stand on that sideline, you go, wow, those guys can really throw it.
That and watch out for speed, man.
Woo! Big and fast.
Don't blink. Don't turn your back, for heaven's sakes. They'll kill you. But,
oh, Lord, you're exactly
I really
right.
enjoyed this. And my last question would be, okay, and we'll close up here, but I really appreciate you taking the time. And it's really been informative. Okay, you call my house, you want to close the deal. My son's 6'3", 215-pound linebacker that can run side and change direction, get off blocks and all that stuff. So how are you gonna convince him to come to Bowling Green? We've talked about it already, but it's a summary. You got about 10 sentences to tell me that. How do you convince him that Bowling Green's the place? Now, don't forget, I live 55 minutes away. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the number one thing, Coach Carr, Urban, and Frank Beamer, Steve Adazio. I mean, I could go all the guys that have ever coached me, and I coached with, I should say. But the number one thing is that you have to hire a great staff. And we have guys that have over 250 years of Power 5 experience. We've been in every league, Power 5 league. We've been in every bowl game. We got 3 Super Bowl rings on our staff. And the number one thing is development. And we're going to make sure that we are going to develop you to your maximum on and off the field. We're going to make sure that you not only have a great experience on the football field, but we're going to make you 10 times better off the field. I was raised very well by 2 great parents. And my experience at the University of Michigan, Lloyd Carr and that crew made me better, period, end. And the thing that we're going to do is we're going to develop you. You're going to walk onto a campus that is not a commuter school. There's 18,000 students right on campus. It's a safe community that believes in football. Football is very important here. They've got great, rich tradition here. And when the thing is right, this little city rocks and rolls. So you're going to have a wonderful college experience. You're going to get a great degree. You're going to get developed to the max. And at the end of the day, it's all about development. It's all about, I always say it, good college coaches are judged 15 years down the road. Did we give the kid an opportunity to become a great college player and student athlete? Did he have a chance to play in pro football? And does he got a great job with a great family, and he's a leader in the community? And if you're around great people like that, there's a good chance that 15 years after you graduate, you're going to have a hell of a life.
Coach, I appreciate it. And I would like to talk to you, once practice starts.
I would love to. And John, just like I said, I'm busy and all that other stuff, but I'm never too busy for you. You were unbelievable during the recruiting process for me. And my parents love you. The coaches love you. We respect you more than anything. You got great knowledge, and you're a heck of a person.
Thank you. And Carrie Hodakovic loves me, and you. Okay.
Yes, he does. It was great
Thanks,
seeing you,
John.
John.
Thank you.
See ya.